in a minute. Digital Trends is live. Join us. 30 seconds. Nine, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Title cards up. Stand by Scenic in 3, 2, 1. Scenic's up. Stand by mics. And mics are hot.
That's a very pretty shot. You're right, Ryan.
It's a great town.
Isn't it? Isn't it neat?
It's really nice.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right.
Excellent. Well, that's just nice to hear.
It is nice
A
to hear.
beautiful spring morning here in Portland, Oregon.
2.
You see the mist coming slowly down over the hills, enveloping the city. Wonderful goodness. Hello, everyone. That's
true.
This is Digital Trends Live. This is our daily show here from Digital Trends. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are here live every weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, bringing you tech headlines and interviews, all while broadcasting live across many different platforms: Twitch, Twitter, Periscope, YouTube, LinkedIn Live, Facebook, Apple News, Daily Motion, and on 2 apps, an app for Android and Apple. You can download those right now and watch us on there. We can take your comments and questions as we go through, but let's get through what's on the docket today.
I'm pretty
Greg
sure
Niblett.
some of those you just made up.
I did, yeah. If you go back and you slow it down,
There's
a
like
hidden
5 in
message
there that aren't real.
There was a hidden message, and it's a code. If you know the code, in the 130th episode, that'll be the secret. All right, so let's talk
winning
about
your
who's on the show today. So coming up here in just a little bit, we have Brian Vogt Weiss. He is the CEO of Comedy Dynamics. Comedy Dynamics is the largest independent comedy production and distribution company, and they have probably made a lot of the comedy specials that you like. It's amazing, the catalog that he has. So we're going to be talking to Brian about that. We have Jared Hoffa, who's the founder and host of Gaming Under the Influence, which is just fantastic. I just learned about this recently. I am really excited to talk about him, or talk about his product with him. And he's going to be live from the Chicago Comic-Con. So we're going live to Chicago at some point during this show. And then we have Zale Schoenborn, who is the CEO and founder of Pickathon. Pickathon is in its 20, let's see, is it, yeah, really 20 years? It's over 20 years that Pickathon has been going on, so that's pretty amazing. And we're going to be talking to Zale all about that and where they've gone and how they've been able to maintain a music festival for all that time. And joining me right now here in studio is, of course, Ryan Waniata.
Of course.
Ryan
Obviously.
Waniata. Thank you so much, Ryan.
Say Waniata.
Of course, as everybody knows and was expecting, the
Right.
was out of the bag.
Right.
It was Ryan who
There was a lot of rumors about this coming, leading into this event.
A lot of speculation about
There
whether or
were.
not Ryan would be here
That's
today,
true.
and I'm happy to say that rumors are confirmed.
It all worked out.
It's Ryan. All right, Ryan. Let's,
We were able to make a deal.
we got
got the deal done.
We got him signed.
couldn't believe
his
it.
rider is everything was met. So I mean, we got him in here. So just be thankful, everybody. All right, let's talk about some news.
Yeah.
So the biggest trending story right now is not even something that's happening today. It has to do with what's happening on Monday, and
Right.
that is Apple's next event.
Yes.
The big event, March 25th, which we will be broadcasting live here. We'll have a watch party for it. You can watch with us. But here's what we've got so far. So there's some more rumors that are coming out. We know over this last week they've released some hardware, not really great announcements, I would say. An iPad mini, an iPad update, the Apple AirPods 2, which really weren't much of an improvement at all.
They're not even calling them the 2 because
Yeah.
they probably figured they'd get sued.
Because there's nothing
It's
really.
so not a 2.
Yeah.
It's so not an update.
Right? Well,
But yeah, it's something.
it's something. Something happened. On Monday, that's what we're really looking forward to. And this is where they're most likely going to be debuting. I mean, if they don't, I don't know how they get away with it. Debuting their new streaming television service. And this is Apple's whole move into new services
Right.
as a way to expand their income. So in theory, the way this service would work is they've got partnerships with other companies. So it'd be like an app that you open up, and then within that you can find whatever you want to watch. Supposedly they've got a partnership with HBO, maybe Showtime. I don't think anything's 100% confirmed. The only thing that's confirmed is Netflix will not be a part of it.
Yeah, I believe that is confirmed. And
Yeah.
that's not that surprising, actually, although they were really hoping to get that deal done, I think, because,
To bring Netflix on board.
well, what we think that they're trying to build, and of course no one knows exactly, is some sort of conglomeration of all services. I mean, you and I have talked on this on our Between the Streams podcast many times. There are way too many streaming services out there, but what if you could subscribe to one service for one price,
Right.
and all of them would be in one place? Well, we're definitely not going to get all of them, and that price might be too exorbitant. But I think what we're expecting them to do is bring together at least a few different streaming services, possibly even live television, maybe even from cable or from antenna, all in one place. But we don't know. If they did want to bring in live television, they'd need a new device. So we're wondering if we're going to see a new device as well, some
Maybe
kind of new Apple TV.
Really? Okay, yeah, because I mean, I guess that idea, if it is one price, that is kind of appealing.
Yeah,
If
I
you
mean,
could just, but then aren't we just getting back to cable?
one price and one place, I guess.
Yeah.
And then there are other rumors. So a lot of this comes from a patent, a 133-page patent that we diagnosed. Simon Cohen, who works with Digital Trends, diagnosed this thing, and there are all kinds of weird things. But some of the ideas are you could authenticate your service from your phone, possibly, and take it anywhere you want to go. Maybe watch it on someone else's device. It could be connected to the new Apple TV, which might have a coaxial. Or, as Apple often does, they may disappoint a bit,
Right.
as Apple often does, not do's,
It's Friday. It's okay.
as
on
Apple
Friday.
often
You
does.
can do that on Friday.
They may disappoint and just not quite give us that much pizzazz at once. It might just be, a more basic service.
Yeah.
But, what's interesting is analysts have predicted that up to 100 million people could join this service in the first year, and that has to do with Apple's big old hardware reach into billions of users.
Yeah, they do have. I mean, they can reach so many different platforms just because people have all those devices. Yeah.
We all saw the
Instantly.
U2 incident. So
Oh yeah,
hopefully
that's right.
they're not going to
where they automatically download.
sign you up for it, but they really have this reach where it's almost creepy how much reach they have.
Right.
So could be
That
interesting.
comment there, Ethan from YouTube, saying that's cable. Yeah, and it is. It's kind of going back to that conglomeration side of it.
Well, as Apple
if that
calls it,
happens.
the future of TV is apps, and we want apps, and that's
Yeah.
they've been saying that for a long time now, and they've been working on their tvOS. So it's something that they're trying to bring multiple services together to make it more simple. But there could be other interesting features to it that make it more appealing than just pulling up apps on, say, a Roku device. So
Well, and part of it is, they'll also have their own content that they've been creating, and the rumor is that there's going to
Yes.
be a bunch of their celebrities that are going to be down there at this event on Monday to try to spice it up a little bit, build up some anticipation. We don't know for sure, but we're thinking that maybe there'll be some of those people down there because they've invested a lot of money in the content, but we also don't think that content's going to be out until later this year, probably at the earliest.
yeah, or
at
the
least according
service.
to rumors.
We think they're just going to
service,
show
you
off
think
the
it's gonna be
service.
later, too?
Oh yeah, I think that you'll be able to look at it, but you won't be able to buy it for a while.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but yeah, that's the other side of the coin is the TV shows and the movies. They have booked a lot of people. Although they haven't spent as much money as Netflix spends, we think they've spent around $1 billion, but it's hard to say.
Yeah.
But they brought in everybody from Oprah to Rob McElhenney and Charlie Day from It's Always Sunny
Right.
to
Which is
create
a good move.
programming. Yeah,
Yeah.
they've really
Steve
brought
Carell.
together high-level people, really great creators, and there's some appealing ideas that they've got rolling around in there.
Well, just a couple other quick things with this of what we're anticipating too. Is there a magazine subscription service maybe coming out? Mark Thompson, CEO of the New York Times, warned other publishers that relying on third-party distributors for their content is not a good idea. He doesn't think that's a very smart move for independent publishers, which I can kind of see because then he implied that if you train everybody to go to one source, then they're not going to go back to that, and it waters down their New York Times content. For other publications, this may be a great way to get it out. We'll see how it all looks once that does come out, to become the Netflix of news, essentially. And then Apple AirPower is also something. We got a leak actually showing that, where that's finally going to be out. So it gets a little bit of hardware news in there, which is their charging mat. That if you were an Apple user, I suppose a lot of people have been excited about this. I'm not an Apple user, so just full disclosure.
Yeah.
So that would be for the iPhone 8, Apple Watch Series 3, and newer AirPods.
Yeah, well, and the headline here is services.
Yeah.
We think that a lot of people may not want to be a part of it, not just because of what the New York Times raised, but a 50% revenue cut from right off the top that could go to Apple for these new services that want to participate. So if you're
Yeah.
a smaller service, maybe it's worth it to have Apple's reach. But if you're a larger service, it probably isn't. And that's another reason why maybe a Netflix and maybe a Disney don't want to be a part of this, is you're going to lose about 30% off the top as subscriptions come through the Apple TV service. They don't want to lose that money.
Yeah.
But Apple is really looking to do what a lot of other companies have done, and it's been doing as well. Of course, its iTunes services was always a revenue builder, but of course iTunes isn't what it used to be. So of course they have Apple Music, but they make billions off services. They want to make billions more.
Yeah.
And ads are a big part of that as well. We're going to see ads on this service as well. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be really, really talked about a lot. So that's, again, coming up Monday, March 25th. You can watch that live right here on Digital Trends. We'll do our normal daily show and then roll right into it and watch it with you on Monday. All right, let's get down to some Read 'em and Weep. This is another favorite part here of the show where we take a look at some of the comments that have come through across our many different platforms, and we read what you write. So just know, like I said, we read them. And sometimes we weep about them. Sometimes we respond about them. So whatever you do put up there, we absolutely will be responding to. So this is Read 'em and Weep. We do this every day. Looking at some great listeners in here. One of our top fans, Mikey's in the chat right now. Just said, "Is there any show better than this one on the interwebs?" I don't know. There's not.
That's
So
nice.
That's the absolute answer to that. All right. So yeah, here we go. Luis. Regarding biologists, create a mutant fly with 140 million-year-old genes. Unfortunately, it's 3 foot long and eats dogs and small children. But hey, what could go wrong? So there we go, a mutant fly. I'm all for some of this. I don't know if flies are what we need to be bringing back.
You just want the Jurassic Park situation?
I want a woolly mammoth. I want to ride a woolly mammoth, and I want a mammoth burger.
Seems like that's
what it comes
close.
down to. Yeah, but actually, yeah, they may be able to do that. I think the Russians are working on it, so which is not scary at all. So that's what I'm hoping for. But Luis, yes, I can kind of agree. I don't think we need any more bugs.
Nah,
I'm fine on the bugs.
probably good.
Yep, good on that. Decided. Stamp and approval. All right, William Howell. Regarding how deep fakes will make fake news worse. The deets, great video, but please tell me that's a deep fake shirt. That's referring to Mr. Riley Wynn and his new series on Digital Trends. The deets, where he kind of goes in depth with different topics to give you the information on it. I haven't seen what shirt he was wearing in that, but we'll have to verify that. We'll let Riley know all about that, William Howell. That's funny. All right, continue on with our Read 'em and Weep section here at Digital Trends. Christopher McClements, writing, "Man builds feminine robot." Oh yeah, that looks like Scarlett Johansson. $10 says that she still so That's awesome. That wins today so far.
That's pretty good.
Christopher, you have that. Yeah, if you haven't read that article, it is seriously one of the creepiest things ever that this guy did.
It was also only a matter of time, I feel like.
Yeah, you think so? Yeah, you're right.
Especially with Scarlett Johansson, that just seemed like that was coming. After her,
We have the power to build realistic robots.
It's going to happen.
Inevitably. Someone's going to go to a Scarlett Johansson
That's gonna happen.
robot. Oh, man. Yeah. But Christopher, I hope that's the case. How would you feel if you're Scarlett Johansson? Like, she has to know about this. One of her friends is like, you got to check this out. Check out
You
what this
don't
guy
want to
did.
look at it if you're Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah, or maybe they protect her and
the
block
stuff
her.
of nightmares.
It is. Ren, Samsung, Q9. This is a long one. Oh, wow. QF9 QLED TV. This reviewer is a moron. Tell him to go be a beggar on the streets of London with a begging bowl in hand.
Oh, poetic.
He has no business being a professional reviewer. The best LCD ever made. My foot. And OLED-like picture quality, just LOL. This TV is just one notch higher than a mediocre. Bugger off. Wow.
Bugger off.
Bugger off. I guess he was British the whole time. I had my accent wrong.
Yeah.
That's pretty great.
Interesting.
I believe that's probably Caleb on this review.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You didn't have to say that, but you did.
Well, I mean, people were going to figure it out. I mean, somebody's got to tell him to be a beggar on the streets of London with a begging bowl in hand.
Well,
I'm not sure how that ties in.
As angry tweets go, like that's a very classy angry tweet, I suppose.
It
I
is.
mean, as far as the wording, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
Could have gotten a lot
time in it.
dirtier.
I mean, I just picture this guy like typing. He types like this.
Yeah.
This man should be on the streets. And I like the best LCD ever made. My foot. That needs to be incorporated back in some more, I think.
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
gonna
watch
start
the language, but sometimes you have to go for it.
using that. Just LOL. He's all classy
right.
until the LOL. All right. Well,
Yeah.
anyway, Thank you, Ren. We'll
Last
make
one's
sure that
coming.
gets passed on. We have one more here.
QLED does look pretty good, I gotta say. I've seen
What's that?
QLED does look pretty good.
It
I gotta
does,
say.
yeah.
I've
I
seen
mean,
it.
it's a good-looking television. I don't know what he's all upset about. Kyle,
Very upset.
regarding FedEx wants to deliver your packages with autonomous robots. Great. So the robot now gets to leave the delivery attempted slip, even though I'm home. I see where he's going. That's it. Deliver
Yep.
joke.
Bam.
All right. Kyle, I do understand
Burn.
that. And yes, we'll make sure. I don't know what we do with that. I guess I just agree with it.
FedEx, you're burned.
Sure. Yep. Sorry, FedEx. Rough one. All right. Let's continue on and
Or UPS,
go
sorry.
on with our news. Wait, I guess so. Yeah, I'm not sure. Continuing on with our news topics today. This is something that actually broke yesterday. But if you are a Facebook user, hello everybody watching us on Facebook, you probably should be aware of this. And the news is this: that Facebook, basically for years, it was revealed, had been storing hundreds of millions of user passwords in a format that was accessible to its employees. So they stored them where any of one of these employees, I believe it was 2,000 company developers, 20,000 Facebook employees, had access to our usernames and passwords and could see them. They weren't encrypted. They were just stored. I mean, from the sounds of it, sounds like just in a big doc that you could just access.
Just a Google Drive doc.
Just a Google Drive doc. I mean, I don't know if that's the case, but still, just unencrypted to where you could gain access to these if the employees wanted to. This was exposed by Brian Krebs, who's an independent security researcher, and the way that he brought it up is because an unnamed Facebook executive contacted him and leaked this information because he felt Facebook wasn't doing anything about it fast enough.
Yeah, that seems to be the issue. Is Facebook has been sort of mounting these terrible, terrible problems over the last 5 years or so,
Yeah.
and slowly we've all learned about them. And it's really hard to be a part of Facebook anymore and not feel like you shouldn't be. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many
very-
leaks that have been happening, and so many things that have been going on as far as security, and a lot of it is either internal issues or issues with their PR and what they say, how they present things. There's a lot that's gone on because, I mean, just 6 months ago, there was the hacker, 6 months ago, attackers managed to extract data such as name, gender, and hometown for around 50 million users. There's an FCC review of Facebook's privacy policies and handling of user data, and that's basically because of the Cambridge Analytica issues. There's a lot going on there. So it's just one more thing that's coming out about this. Now, they said they don't have any reason to believe that any of this information was used for any purpose other than internal issues, but still just the idea that they had this sitting there and 20,000 employees could get access, plus 2,000 developers. I mean, that's a lot of people that had access to that. So I think the bottom line is change your password.
Yeah, and maybe don't use Facebook.
Unless you're watching this show right now,
And
which
of
thank
course
you everybody
then,
for watching Digital Trends Live right here on Facebook, because that we do appreciate. George, thank you for watching on Facebook right now. But yeah,
Yeah.
it is. I mean,
I mean, that's just negligence, but there are so many things that they've done that were proactively against their users' wishes, as far as selling ads and selling
paying teenagers for access to all their data.
just the data information that they've given away, and just like so many scuzzy things, let alone just like, we weren't really paying attention. It's fine.
Whatever. Steve made a Google Doc. He shared it with all of us. Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens with this, and it's just kind of one of those things where you just expect something else to happen.
I mean, if you had an email service that had this many problems, you wouldn't use that email. Like, remember Yahoo?
Oh yes, I do. Yeah.
Yahoo, you don't use Yahoo anymore. Most people don't.
Yeah, I use it for my fantasy sports, but I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, well, of course.
But yeah, I mean, and you're right. But how can you get away from using Facebook, though? I mean, if you're in any kind of media, like we
tough,
are,
yeah.
if you have any kind of small business, I mean, any kind of marketing you have to do, if you're in a band, I mean, Facebook is, unfortunately, you can't leave it out. There's other platforms you can also use, but I don't think,
Like MySpace?
like MySpace, yes. And there are 50 million songs that
There
are
are
missing.
50 million songs that went missing.
But yeah, it's definitely a hard decision to make, and hopefully they get this figured out. But they just keep stepping on it. I mean, it's just really, really hard. Sam Slaughter in the live chat just said, "I hear Angel Fire is coming back, so maybe we'll do that. New platform, Angel Fire. All right, let's go on to. We got time at least for one more here, really quick, and this is something I've been wanting to get to, and this has to do with a robot. It's Friday. I get to talk about a robot today. And it's talking about specifically a robot dog named Tombot. Now, this robot dog isn't like the Boston Dynamics ones, which are terrifying and Black Mirror-like. This one, they made it look a little
More
cuter.
like spiders.
More like, yeah, they look more like spiders. Here's the dog right here. So it's designed to be a companion robot, and it was partially designed by Jim Henson's Creature Shop. They wanted it to look realistic enough, and so they actually went to Jim Henson's company to help design this, which I think is a smart move, because underneath that, it's just metals and wires that want to eat you. But right now, it looks very, it looks very friendly.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah,
wires.
there's the inside. You don't want to see the inside. But what they're doing for this is it's designed actually right now specifically for the elderly, for people in
Can't get out to walk your dog.
who can't take care of a normal
Right.
of an actual dog.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I mean, it does lead you to this down this road of of things becoming more realistic. I guess they're more accepted just because humans, that it's more acceptable if it's something like that.
It does kind of look like a Muppet dog too.
It does look like a Muppet dog, which does make me like it.
Yeah.
Teddy Ruxpin.
I do like that. It also, does kind of remind me of like a Teddy Ruxpin. It's got a little bit of a
It does
Teddy.
have a Ruxpin vibe to it.
Ruxpin vibe.
Little Ruxpin
Yeah,
action.
right there. There's it for those of you who don't know what
All right,
Teddy
that
Ruxpin
looks
is.
way faker than I remember.
I think that's one of the newer
that's
versions.
The new Ruxpin.
That's the new.
That's
yeah.
creepy as hell.
New Ruxpin. Why does it have stars on its eyes?
That is scary.
Oh my God.
Go back to the old Ruxpin.
I will be
It just
in
had a
your
little tape.
nightmares
It had a
tonight.
tape deck in it.
Yeah.
And you just
Yeah, you put the tape deck in and then it just moves its mouth.
it's
and
the
that
old
was
timey
it.
ways.
And the kids and the Teddy Ruxpins, what are you gonna do?
Well, my wife really wants to get a dog, and we're trying to build a fence for it. That's going to be a lot of money. Maybe I should just get a robot dog.
I think you could do this for a lot cheaper because I believe the price is actually like $250. I think you can get
No
one
way.
of these things.
Wow.
Yeah. So
What does
not
it
too
do?
bad.
Do we know what it does?
Let me tell you, it's it stares at you, it wags its tail.
Okay.
It'll bond with you. It helps relieve loneliness. I'm looking at the Kickstarter right now. Understands voice commands, easy charging. So it listens to like basic commands. You can have the software's upgradable, so you can do different things with it. I mean, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Yeah, especially for people who can't take care of a dog. So that's a nice option to have on there.
And it's a Kickstarter, so yeah,
Kickstarter right now,
$300. So
$300. Okay.
not bad though.
Not bad. Might be cheaper than a fence. So
The question is, I wonder if it's updatable. That's one question I
it is.
want to know. Okay.
Yep. The software is upgradable. So down the line they can actually upgrade this thing a little bit too. Tombot. All right, there we
We
go.
can do one more.
Looks like we have time for one more segment here. This is something that actually I thought was pretty cool, and I like to bring up some of these other stories that maybe don't get enough attention, especially on Fridays. I just made that up, but that's what I do. So, so this is talking about drone exploration and some of the unique ways that we may be able to explore possibly planets like Mars. And it's researchers from SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence Institute, and Astrobiotic Technology, or Astrobotic Technology. So these are the two groups that came together. They created a drone, an autonomous drone, that they used to map an entire cave in Iceland. So it uses LiDAR, it flew on its own, and went through this cave and mapped it out, I guess, remarkably well with 3D mapping. Pretty cool.
That is cool.
Yeah, so they're showing a demonstration right there. This is, I mean, obviously, on another planet, you wouldn't be able to send a human in so easy.
I saw that on Prometheus actually.
Yeah. See, exactly. This is something you're going to see.
Yeah.
I think it's a really, really cool concept. And they're talking about how, on the moon or on Mars, obviously you wouldn't be able to use normal propellers. So the air is too thin to keep it up. So they're working on developing what they're calling thrustered drones, which would use cold gas thrusters or other mini rocket engines in order to fly through various tunnels or wherever they go.
That's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
I wanna get in one.
Yes, you want to ride. You
Yeah.
want to ride in one. Okay, Ryan would like to ride in one. Well, I don't know if they have one big enough to ride in yet, but I love this idea
getting there.
of technology. I think that it's a really, really great use of it, and something that could really help out. Let's see. I'm seeing there's some LED has. Okay, the other voices. We can hear what they're saying in your earpiece. Oh, everybody can hear what's being said in my earpiece. Okay, that's just clarifying that. I'm taking a look there. That was a little bit, but I think we're okay. There wasn't too much. I think it was just a little bit of an echo that was going on there. We're broadcasting live, reading the comments as we go through. All right.
That's why I never carry one.
That's why, what, you just don't carry an earpiece?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because you're Ryan Juanita, you do what you want to.
I just look at them.
You know, you wrote your rider
try
out
to
there.
yell at me.
You do whatever you want to do. They can't control you. You're the wild card Juanita.
That's what they call me.
That's what they call them in the production booth, everybody. All right, it's Friday. We've got to continue on here because we do have some interviews coming up, and we're very excited to have those on. But thank you, Ryan, for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I want everybody to know, coming up at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, we will be broadcasting Between the Streams, which is the show that Ryan and I host, where we bring you up to date on movies and entertainment. There's a lot to talk about this week.
Yeah, this is a cool one.
Yeah, it's a cool week to talk about movies and entertainment. So that's going to be live across these platforms as well. So join us for that. Then we're going to take a quick break right now. Coming up, though, shortly, we're going to be joined by Brian Vogt Weiss, who is the CEO and the founder of Comedy Dynamics. And Comedy Dynamics is the organization behind a lot of the comedy specials you have probably watched. He's behind it. And so we're going to talk to him about that, how he came and formed the company, where they're going, what's next. I know they're also the production company behind Mad About You, the reboot.
Oh, very interesting.
So lots of interesting stuff going on there. Drop in your comments
you're really
and questions.
excited for that.
Let us know. I like Paul Reiser and Helena. And we will be back here in just a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. Thank you everyone for joining us, broadcasting across all these different platforms, bringing you tech news and interviews and fun things to talk about, and that's what we're going to be doing right now. I'm Greg Nibbler, very excited to bring on our next guest. If you have watched any comedy specials at all in the last whenever, you have probably watched some of Brian's work. That was my very eloquent intro there. We are now joined by Brian Vogt Weiss from Comedy Dynamics. Hello, Brian.
Hello, how are you?
Doing well. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
I want to talk about everything that's behind you at some point here. But before we do that, let's, for anybody who's watching who might not know what Comedy Dynamics is, maybe you can give us just a little bit of the backstory and what it is that you do.
So Comedy Dynamics is, and I believe this is factually accurate, maybe it's not, but we are the largest independent producer of stand-up comedy. The reason I preface it that way is I'm always worried there could be some company in India or China making 1 billion of these a day that I'm not aware of. So theorizing that that's not true, we are the biggest.
Yes.
So I'm biased, but I think we're the best. But
I think legally speaking, that passed all tests. So I think you're okay to say it now, and it's on the internet. So now you said it. Now it's absolutely true. Well,
it's out there forever.
Yeah, exactly. So how did you get your start in this business?
I got out here pretty much 20 years ago, this coming July, and I started working. It's a cliched story, as cliched as it gets, the Hollywood story. I came out here with some money. I ran out of money. I started, I knew this guy who was quitting his job. He was an assistant to a manager. I didn't even know what a manager was. So I took the job. because I needed cash. And he was a manager who pretty much only represented comedians. So I was like, okay, time to dig into comedy. Because at that point, the only comedy that I was into was Bill Cosby and the Jerky Boys. So I started working for him on a Monday. That Saturday, I went to the Laugh Factory. I watched 3 shows, and I was hooked. So I became a manager a couple years after that. All I managed was comedians. And while I was managing, I started producing comedy specials for my clients. And I would do 1 or 2 a year, like any manager who represents comedians does. And then one day, I got a phone call from an agent asking me if I would produce a stand-up special for a non-client. And I was very offended, and I kind of was a jerk and was like, that's so offensive. It was Michael Ian Black's agent, by the way. And I was like, well, why don't you think we could manage Michael Ian Black? Why are we just good enough to produce? Like, I was very offended. And then the next morning, like, I'm in the shower or whatever, and I'm like, you know, my job is actually to make money as long as it's legal. So why couldn't I produce a non-client special? So word got out that we were producing non-client specials, and all of a sudden we started getting a lot of phone calls to produce non-client specials. So there, I'm all of a sudden, you know, within 6 months of that, I'm working with Jim Gaffigan, Aziz Ansari, Kevin Hart, and everything took off from there for stand-up. And then, I don't know, 5 years, 6 years, whatever, but I retired from management. And I just started producing.
That's fascinating. I mean, just going from the whole story of just being an assistant to a manager, not knowing what that does and what they do, and then, yeah, into this role that you're at right now. Let me ask you this. So how have you seen, you know, talking on the technical side, how have you seen streaming television change the way comedy specials are produced?
The streaming has changed everything.
Uh-huh.
It's 1/3 of why everything has changed. It's not the only reason. It's 1/3, but it really hasn't changed how they're produced. I mean, for 50 years, 99.9% of the time, a human being gets on stage with a microphone, says words, and that's it. And you have between 3 and my fewest cameras is 3. My most cameras is 27, so anywhere between 3 and 27. And, you know, it went from film to standard def to HDef to 4K. Now we're starting to play around with VR and 8K and all this other wackiness. But the how a special is produced has not really changed.
So that part's kept it. I mean, streaming has obviously made it, I guess, more accessible to a lot of people. Yes. Do people do comedians, I mean, I know they've always wanted to do specials, but before, you know, it's like there's the HBO comedy special or the Showtime one, and it was so limited to who could really, it felt like this anyway, limited to who could really get access to something like that. And now I feel like with the streaming side of it, a lot more comedians can make specials and have them actually seen. Is that true, or am I wrong in that assumption?
You're 100% right, but streaming is only 1/3 of the story, as I see it, in my opinion.
What are the other 2/3?
Yeah, so the first thing that happened, and actually it doesn't matter what the order is, there's 3 things that are going on. Number 1 is streaming. Number 2 is social media. Number 3 is YouTube. And they all work together. And what has basically happened is this. Before YouTube, before social media, and to be honest with you, I take back what I said. There is an order of events. The order of events is this: YouTube, Facebook, or not just Facebook, social media, streaming. So what happened is, before those 3 things, like if you were sitting there in the 90s watching Comedy Central or HBO or Showtime, which were pretty much kind of your only options, you basically were like, oh, you're looking at TV Guide, or you're looking at, even when the TV Guide was on the screen, you're like, oh, they're doing a stand-up special of somebody I've never heard of. they want an hour of my life for somebody I've never heard of? Well, I would say less than 1% of viewers would take that risk. What happened with social media and YouTube is it lowered the time threshold and the trust threshold to get into stand-up comedy. And what I mean by that is, if Comedy Central is saying to you, hey, John Doe or Jane Doe is funny, you're going to be like, you're Comedy Central. You say that about everybody. Like, hey, maybe I'll give you my hour, or maybe I'll give my hour to, MacGyver. But now, because of YouTube and Facebook, your best friend that you met in the 4th grade and played with G.I. Joe, he's like, hey, you got to check out Tom Segura. Here's 5 minutes. So now your best friend who you've known for 20 years is sending you 5 minutes. And you're like, this is great. Then you go to YouTube yourself. You watch another 5 minutes, then another 5 minutes, then another 5 minutes. You happen to have a Netflix account. You see that Tom Segura has a new special and you're hooked. And then you hear, oh my God, Tom Segura is in Portland. For the first time in your life, you buy tickets to see a stand-up comedian. Mm-hmm. So that's what's been happening over the last 4 years.
I think that's great for comedy, just in itself.
It is. And what's happened basically is in the 70s, maybe even late 60s, horror was pulled out of drama because there were all these big horror hits in a row. Rosemary's Baby, The Exorcist, and then horror became its own genre. That is what's happened with stand-up comedy only within the last 2 years, and it's because of these 3 things happening simultaneously.
Well, I know you also just signed a deal with Amazon Prime, is that right? Where you're going to be doing something with Prime?
Yeah, I mean Amazon, but yes.
Oh, Amazon, okay. What are you doing with them?
We are making a whole group of specials
Nice.
that they will be premiere for the first time ever. People will be able to watch a special on Amazon for the first time anywhere. So every special on Amazon right now, within reason, has been somewhere else before it went to Amazon. The deal we have with them, for the first time ever, there's going to be stand-up on Amazon that premieres there and is only there.
Wow. I mean, I like that idea just because it opens up even more avenues for comedians to have specials and more of a demand for it. You know? Well, Brian, I know we need to wrap up. I just want to say thank you so much for joining us. You know, I love everything behind there. We need to have you back on another time. There's lots to talk about with this. But Brian, where should people go, the best place to find all of your specials?
Oh, we're everywhere you are. So if you watch on Dish or Comcast or Cox, that's whatever we have that's available. It'll be there. We have a lot on Netflix. We have a lot on Prime. I would say everybody should go to Prime. If you have a subscription to Amazon Prime, go to Prime. 75% of our work is there. Or you can get it, like I said, if you live in Denver, we're on Dish. If you live in Alabama, we're on Cox. We're everywhere. And we're launching our own channel and our own app in less than a month. So if you got $4.99 a month, you have to get out of your wallet because you love stand-up so much. You can get a subscription to our app.
Fantastic. Brian, thank you so much for joining us here on Digital Trends Live.
Bye.
Bye. All right, there we go. Brian Volk-Weiss from Comedy Dynamics. That is fascinating. I know I need to get us to a break because we have more coming up. We're going to be joined by Jared Hoffa, who is the founder and host of Gaming Under the Influence. He's going to be live at Chicago Comic-Con, and we're going to be going straight to him here right after this quick break on Digital Trends Live. Hello and welcome back to Digital Trends Live. Thank you everybody for joining us live every weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. And one of the great things about this is I'm Greg Nibbler. I'm here in Portland, Oregon. We can go anywhere. And right now we're going to be heading to the Chicago Comic-Con. I will say this, when you're at a convention, there's a lot of people that want to get online. So we may have a little bit of a choppy video, but we're very excited to have our next guest. And it is Jared Hoffa. So Jared is the founder and host of Gaming Under the Influence. Hello, Jared.
Hey, how are you, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks for joining us. So you're there on I'll pause a little bit. I'll say my question and then pause. Hey, Jared, can you let us know what is Gaming Under the Influence? Oh, and we may
And streaming is obviously such a hot thing. It has become. Oh, am I back? Am I back?
You're back
I'm
now.
going to be in and out probably.
Yep.
Because it's a bad signal. Okay. Gaming and streaming is such a hot thing that we decided to take it further. So Gaming Under the Influence allows any audience member in person or online to influence the show in real time. This includes, shooting them with essence on stage. We wanted to take it beyond just a streamer in a chair and make an experience for people who are big gamers and people who are non-gamers at all. I think that's really important, and that's we're pushing it to what we like to call 2.0.
I think that's awesome. That kind of interactivity is something that I feel like a lot of people have experimented with, but this idea of it is so cool. What kind of games do they play during this?
So one of the great things, and one of the things that we have going for us that not is we can play any game. So we could play the hottest Fortnite and have them duct tape their hands together, or we could play a retro game that a casual game player might like a Pac-Man or something really simple. And what that does, it allows anyone to be able to watch and interact with the show because they understand those games. And it's a nice entry into people who aren't used to watching streaming gaming. And also for people who are hardcore esports athletes. We've had some really big names come on our show and compete, and it was fantastic.
That's really cool. So, and you looks like you broadcast a lot at bars, which I'm sure is the Under the Influence, maybe a little bit part of that, which is also great.
Yeah, the great thing is, we want to, the thing for me is we wanted to not make it so sanitized. We want to make it down and dirty. We want to make it industrial. We want to go to bars. We want to go to the barcades where people are doing this. That's what's important. We want to take this show and experience to them, not just necessarily sit at home and say, hey, watch us. That's great, but that's not our thing. We want to really go big.
And how does somebody get involved? Like if they want to compete on the show?
So we've been so successful at this that I can't even tell you the last time that we had to ask someone to be on the show. Like go to the site and I'll get these amazing emails about why this person should be a contestant. And if we don't do it that way, a lot of times when someone sees us setting up or like at C2E2 right now, they'll come up and they'll say, man, I want to be part of this. Whatever this is, I want to do it. Then she would do it. Exactly. That's how it works. So, and then she would be a great contestant. So as you see, they get excited and then we grab them. We throw them on. Obviously, it's a celebrity gamer or a personality or a Twitch streamer. That's obviously more produced. And, we have a production team that does that. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the times, we'll get that guy at the local bar. We'll get that local gamer. We'll get someone who does that. And it makes a great show.
That's awesome. How often do you air these? Oh, that might have been the final nail there in the live stream on our connection there with Jared. I think it looks like maybe we cut out. Well, I want to say a huge thank you. That was Jared Hoffa, who is the founder of Gaming Under the Influence. I love this idea. I hope we can get Jared back on later on when we have a better connection and can talk to him. But yeah, anyway, so that was Gaming Under the Influence, founder and host Jared Hoffa, live from Chicago Comic-Con. And the thing is, when you're live on one of those events, it's just insanity. If you've ever been to a Comic-Con, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And everybody's using the internet, so it makes it a little bit difficult. But we'll see if we can get Jared back on another time to talk about that. I think I would absolutely play in that game. By the way, I would totally want to do that as long as it was a game that I knew I could win at. Otherwise, Fortnite, no, I would suck at that. That would not be fun for me. All right, if you're watching live, give us your comments and questions here as we go through the show, because we are live on all of these different platforms, and we are not done with Digital Trends Live yet. Coming up here in just a minute, we're going to be joined in studio. That's right, he's going to be in studio with us. It's Zale Schoenborn, the CEO and founder of Pickathon. We don't have to worry about an internet connection for that because he's going to be sitting here right next to me, and this will all be live, so drop in your comments and questions as we go through the show. We'll take a quick break. Back in a second with more Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We're live here every weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, bringing you tech headlines and interviews and all kinds of fun things that we get to talk about on this show. I'm Greg Dibbler, very excited to be joined right now by Zale Schoenborn. Hello, Zale.
Hi, how you doing?
Doing good. Thanks for coming in here today. You have such a unique story. You've been able to create a music festival that's more than a music festival, and I'm talking about Pickathon, that has lasted for how many years now?
21.
21.
This will be 21.
That is incredible in music festival terminology.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, all the
It's a
ones that have
miracle.
come and gone.
Yeah, the trick in the business is survival. Like, if you can survive, good things can happen.
Yeah, I mean, and you have. Maybe for people who don't know just what Pickathon is, we can get just kind of a rundown of how you decided to launch this and form it and what exactly it is.
Yeah, it's a music festival that really is more about the experience, like culture, like bringing together not just music but food and art and design and architecture. If you haven't been, it's an incredibly irrational place that shouldn't exist, and we've known that for a long time. We've said that this business model as a festival, knowing that it is all about like making that best experience, is what we do. And if you try to mix up those missions of like making it a big festival, where most festivals make their money is just becoming big.
Right.
Doing cheap infrastructure, having it so that you don't have anywhere to go except pay for a $12 beer.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Boom. There it is, right in front of you. Here's a $10 glass of water. Here's a $12 beer.
Yeah.
Then let's talk about where Pickathon is, because you mentioned the spot, and it's been the same spot.
Yeah.
For this whole time. So for anybody watching, where exactly is the spot?
It's on an 80-acre farm, about 12 miles outside of Portland, Oregon, on a piece of property called Happy Valley. So it's Pendarvis Farm in Happy Valley, and it's just beautiful. There's the northwest kind of, big trees, views of Mount Hood, things that you really can't get except in the Northwest.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really, really
it's amazing.
cool property. Yeah, it's beautiful out there. And you've gone on too, so talking about as Pickathon, what kind of music did you start off with?
We always picked the different styles. Like, we always say that the different genres the regional places that are where you find these amazing like scenes. And if you don't think about them in terms of like having to be national, but they're just awesome scenes, going and find the red meat, the Elvis of that world, and bringing them all together, and they just work. We've always approached that. For a long time, it was you could call it like kind of a curse. We had too many styles.
Yeah.
But people came to like think of Pickathon as discovery. Like, everything is about, oh my goodness, this is like the favorite bands of the year. I didn't even know they existed.
Yeah.
And so now what used to be like a real problem is kind of our brand.
Your part of your story as well is you worked at Intel.
Yeah.
So how does one go from Intel to being a music festival producer?
Partly is keep your day job.
Yeah.
You know, the better party, how you get it to something over 20 years is trying to keep a day job.
Yep.
But we just basically have always seen that kind of core mission of Pickathon being really good at what it does live has always been a good counterbalance to the tech. So you have the tech, you're building microchips and software. For me, just the creative aspect of finding cultural things that matter in the world and making experiences is just like a good way to counterbalance the tech world.
I think that's a great idea, and especially for everybody who's watching live right now. If you're watching Digital Trends, you're probably into tech in some way, shape, or form. And yeah, you're right. That balance is really important to have when it comes to life. So you've come up to this point now, and you've increased it. It's not just music that you have at the festival anymore.
Oh no, we have architecture, as we said. Like one of our stages has been built by the Portland State Architecture Department, the grad students, and
that's cool.
They've won awards. They try to purpose the materials to be something else after Pickathon, and so in the last couple of years, they've turned it into homeless pods.
Wow.
Kenton's Women's Village down here in Portland, and they've won some national architecture awards and a Living Planet finalist. We bring in street artists from all over the world to do kind of world-class installations that are both either technology, experiential, or visual. We've kind of have gotten all the chefs from the region to kind of make Pickathon their one stop. The beer that we bring in is not just one kind of Miller or Budweiser. We bring in almost like 15, 20 breweries.
Wow.
And just kind of across the board try to go as deep into that subculture as we can. And again, all of it that comes together in those little pieces to make an experience. We don't have any trash. A long time ago we figured out how to not have any trash. So it's sustainability, but not one of those things really dominates. It's that Disney World kind of experience. And if you haven't been, it's something to experience because it is a fragile thing, and you don't know if something like this can survive over long term.
Yeah, I mean, and you've made it 21 years though. I mean, that alone, it's got to defy every odd out there, Well,
the business model that we see kind of driving this whole thing forward is keeping that experience, not getting confused. No, this has to be the Olympics of what people do. You might be into food, you might be into music, you might be into design, you might be into sculpture, but let's find a sandbox here and make this like the penultimate version of that for you, and then create content. So, a lot like the digital world, the one thing that can scale is kind of content, whether it's reaching live stream of like 500,000 people or 1 million people, or building a 20 original series or some long form series that we're starting to partner with, bigger platforms, and that can scale. The specialness of something small and really authentic is very dangerous to try to scale because those two missions really beat each other up, and sometimes you lose what you were trying to, what was so awesome about what you had in the beginning.
Right, and you've seen that happen with all kinds of different festivals, that started off really cool, but like you said, you get a scale, and then it becomes more cookie cutter, and then you lose that experience.
Yeah.
But adding in the digital side of it and live streaming, how have you incorporated that into the festival?
For 10 years, we kind of realized that we were headed down this path. Either we just scale out the people, blow it out, reduce all of the things that are interesting and fun, and make it generic, because that's just the business model. It's like, you don't want to get confused. That's the business model of kind of the modern festival. We just started building up a film team and a crew, and that has grown into like 600 people over.
Wow.
At the festival, we have about 600 people just on the film team. A couple miles of fiber optics. The whole farm is wired. We have like massive backbone to the internet. We are running kind of live edits, 32 production teams.
Wow.
It's a very large scale operation that we plan all year for. And we also kind of capture that content, take it back to our studios, and we build all these original content and try to like partner with either, different platforms and brands to kind of take those stories which are true, not so much reality series, and actually bring them to like pop culture. You know?
Man, that is really impressive that you've been able to do this. I mean, that really is just kind of like the dream situation of having something, like you said, that's outside of the tech world. You're experiencing something with a limited amount of people that can be there because it's on the same spot, but then also marrying it with like the highest end tech that you can think of.
Yeah, and then underneath that, we build our own tech platforms. We have an awesome set of people that are building like our ticketing system, our volunteer system, the licensing, content management piece of that. It's because it's a very elaborate, right?
Yeah,
And
that's
a lot of
really
players.
elaborate.
Oh yeah.
When you think about that, and just incorporating, let alone just incorporating the artists that you're bringing in and having all that be a part of it too. I mean, that's such a huge accomplishment of doing that. And I want to ask. Looks like we have a question coming in. Okay, so sorry, I'm looking over here. Katie, Pickathon is the best festival happening right now. It's Katie on Facebook.
Hi.
Katie, thank you for tuning in. What about? So let's talk about this year's festival. When is it? How many tickets do you sell, and how do people get them?
So the festival will be like August 1st through the 4th. It's always the first Saturday of the year.
Okay.
You can go onto our website, pickathon.com, and the tickets are still for sale. They're selling a lot faster than they normally have in years past. I think we'll have them easily through June, but for some categories, day tickets and things, they sell out pretty fast. But yeah, it's something that we're already kind of on sale. The lineup we couldn't be more excited about. We have this really interesting phenomenon by keeping it authentic. The artists and these people that we are trying to attract actually want to come. Like,
That's really cool.
We have a lot of access to people that we shouldn't have. So 3,500 tickets are sold. The property itself could probably hold 25,000 paid tickets if we just jammed them in and you did the normal festival kind of motto, you kick people out. But it's like an open living room. You're basically on Fantasy Island, or we like to call it Big Rock Candy Mountain for,
Nice.
For that 3 or 4 days,
Wow, that just sounds amazing. And what's the best place for people to go to find out more, or watch some of the content and just get involved?
You can go to pickathon.com for a lot of the just basic festival on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/pickathon. That has all of our kind of short piece content, and we've been putting something up there every day. We'll be throughout the whole season. Our season kind of runs from October to the end of July, right before the festival, and then we kind of get into the live stream, collect everything, go back into processing and creating a new season and coming out right around Halloween for a whole nother 9-10 months of programming.
Wow, Zale, that's so impressive.
Yeah.
And so cool. Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Oh, super fun.
On this,
You're right down the street.
Yeah, right. We're lucky to be here in Portland. So, again, pickathon.com sounds so amazing. So get your tickets and go on out there. And I guess for everybody watching Digital Trends Live, I guess it's time to wrap it up just a little bit. So I do want to just remind you of what we've gone through today. This is just in 1 hour of programming. So we had Ryan Juanita in here. We were talking about everything that's going on with the Apple event on March 25th. That's Monday. We're going to be broadcasting that live too. So we'll start at our normal 9 a.m. Pacific time, and then we'll roll right into it and watch it with you. So make sure you remember that from Monday, some extra programming there. Going through the show, we had Brian Volk Weiss, who is the CEO of Comedy Dynamics, probably one of the comedy specials that you most recently watched. Very good chance he was involved in that, in producing those. They've been doing it for a long time. Really cool to have him on and talk about that. We had Jared Hoffa. He was live from Chicago Comic-Con. Since we were live at the Comic-Con, a little bit of a choppy video, but still really cool. Gaming Under the Influence, where you actually get to be interactive and work with the gamers as they're drinking. It's under the influence. As you're watching that, really, really cool. Zale here talking about Pickathon. So many fun things. And next week, we have a lot going on too, all broadcasting live on these platforms. We're going to be, like I said, having the Apple Watch event. I'm actually going to be heading to New York. We're going to be broadcasting live from there on Thursday and Friday. All kinds of guests talking about all kinds of different things. We have Ronan who's going to be on talking about automotive. There's just so much happening here with Digital Trends Live, and we really appreciate everybody tuning in. So hit subscribe wherever you're watching. Download the apps too, whether you're Android or Apple, doesn't matter. We've got an app. And we will see you next week with more Digital Trends Live.